By journalist and author Alan Woods. He's on the line from London. Alan, there was a war of words this week between Merkel and Cameron, with the latter calling the Chancellor's views utopian visions. But today we've seen they're all smiles, urging for decisive action. What solutions can they reach amid all these major disagreements going on?
Well, the whole experience, you see, of the recent crisis demonstrates the impossibility of unifying economies which are pulling in radically different directions. They come out smiling and so on. They all agree that there's a need to do something. Yes, but when it comes down to the concrete proposals of what is to be done, of course, there's no agreement at all. In fact, there's a sharp disagreement, particularly between Germany and Britain, but I would say also between other European countries, which is not, these tensions are not going to get any better, they will get worse.
A family that's constantly rowing then. I mean, Angela Merkel is calling for more EU integration, which of course means more participation from all the members of the Union, including Britain. But hang on, casting our minds back, it wasn't so long ago, was it, that Sarkozy practically told Cameron to shut up over the euro? So what role do they actually want the UK to play at the end of the day?
Well, you see, on the one hand, Cameron is pressurising the Germans that they must put in more money to save Europe, to save the euro and so on, and incidentally, of course, to save the British economy. Unfortunately, Merkel is of a rather different opinion. She's not prepared to put in any money, and that's the roots of the problem. And furthermore, is proposing a tax on financial transactions, which of course doesn't suit the British banking sector, of which of course Mr. Cameron is the main political representative. So there's no possibility whatever of an agreement there.
And on top of all this as well, the issue of democracy as well. Italy and Greece saying they're unelected governments. Yes. Let's face it, that's what they are now, pushing through unpopular austerity measures demanded by Brussels. Not exactly democratic, is it?
Well, absolutely. I mean, I think it was in June that the European Central Bank sent a letter to these unelected bankers, sent a letter to the Italian government, then, of course, governed by the late unlamented Berlusconi, telling them what they must do, you see, in other words, to introduce cuts. Now, Berlusconi is gone, and he's gone, of course, as a result of the pressure of the market and the pressure of Europe. He's now been replaced by this chap, Mario Monti, who, as far as I recollect, has never been elected by anyone. I think he was the rector of an important Italian university. Then he was, of course, a European commissioner. But this gentleman, of course, has appeared from nowhere, has been appointed by Napolitano, the president, as a life senator, a senator appointed for life, elected, I repeat, by nobody. He, in turn, has been invited by Napolitano to set up a government which includes not one single solitary elected person. They're bureaucrats, economists, I don't know who they are. These are unknown, faceless people, who now, of course, will preside over a policy of deep cuts, of cuts in pensions, of cuts in salaries, of cuts in health, in education and so on, which of course I anticipate will cause the same furore in Italy on the part of the Italian people, the Italian trade unions, the Italian working class, that we've seen in Greece, where incidentally they've done exactly the same thing. And they have imposed an unelected government of Papademos.
And while that's all going on in the south of Europe, of course, the family's still rowing. The Dutch Prime Minister seems to run out of patience. Has he got the right idea? And he says he'd like to see the weaker countries booted out and a new EU comprised of only the more robust economies. Is that the way forward?
Yeah. Well, you see, they all want to guard their own interests, the interests of their own bankers, that is to say. And, of course, the Dutch are making a big fuss. So are the Finns, by the way. So are the Germans. Yes, but you see, if that were to occur, if Greece, for example, were to leave the common market, which is a possibility, I think, a real possibility, what they don't say is the consequences would be quite dramatic. I mean, you can't do that without provoking a kind of domino reaction.
Well, we've talked about
where more than one country.
Alan, we've talked about it a lot. But just as briefly as you can, what would those consequences be? Just remind us how bad it would be. What would happen if Greece did go?
Well, Greece will be followed, of course, by other countries, by Ireland, by Portugal, by Spain, and then things become really... by Italy. Even France, by the way, is now under threat. The markets are picking on the French. So that, therefore, we may be witnessing the beginning of a process which could lead to the breakup of not just of the euro, by the way, but of the European Union itself, which would have dramatic consequences for every country in Europe, including Germany, by the way, and also for the United States and the world economy, which is what they're basically terrified of.
Alan Alan Wood, journalist and author, thanks for your thoughts on the programme. Much appreciated.